Solitude is often misunderstood as bitterness, arrogance, or escape. People assume that when a man chooses to walk alone, he is rejecting society, relationships, or responsibility. In truth, walking alone is rarely about turning away from others. It is about turning inward. It is the moment a man realizes that before he can understand the world, he must first understand himself. From a young age, identity is handed to us rather than discovered. We are told who to be, what to value, what success looks like, and how happiness should feel. These instructions are loud and constant, leaving little room for reflection. Walking alone interrupts that noise. It creates a space where a man can finally hear his own thoughts without interference, comparison, or pressure. Walking alone is not isolation, it is clarity. In that clarity, a man begins to recognize patterns in his fears, desires, and reactions. He notices which ambitions are truly his and which were borrowed from expectation. This recognition is uncomfortable because it removes illusion, but discomfort is the price of honesty. Only in such honesty does real strength form. Many fear this path because it exposes unanswered questions. Who am I without validation? What remains when applause fades? What do I believe when no one is watching? These questions cannot be answered in crowds. They require silence, patience, and courage. And so a man walks alone, not because he is lost, but because he is searching sincerely. The crowd offers comfort. It offers shared beliefs, shared goals, and shared approval. Within it, a man can disappear, avoiding responsibility for his own direction. There is reassurance in numbers, even when those numbers are unsure where they are going. But comfort is not truth, and agreement is not understanding. Truth rarely feels safe. It challenges assumptions and dismantles familiar stories. When a man steps away from the crowd, he leaves behind borrowed certainty. The path he walks offers no guarantees, only honesty. It demands that he face life as it is, not as it is advertised. On this path, questions are not discouraged, they are essential. The crowd rewards imitation. The path rewards awareness. In the crowd, disagreement threatens belonging. On the path, questioning deepens understanding. Walking alone forces a man to rely on observation rather than opinion, experience rather than tradition. Over time, he realizes that comfort without truth is a pleasant prison, while truth without comfort is a difficult freedom. Approval is one of the earliest rewards we learn to chase. From childhood, praise shapes behavior, teaching us what is acceptable and what is not. It is not. Slowly, dependence on approval replaces self-trust. A man begins to abandon parts of himself to remain accepted, until one day he realizes he no longer recognizes who he is. Authenticity begins where approval ends. It begins when pretending becomes more exhausting than standing alone. Without approval, life feels risky, but it also feels real. There is no performance, no constant adjustment, no need to explain oneself. Actions align with values rather than reactions. This honesty is not rebellion. It is simplicity. Sometimes it aligns with others, sometimes it does not. The difference is that it no longer negotiates its existence for applause. Rejection stops feeling like failure and begins to feel like confirmation that pretending has ended. Noise dominates modern life. Opinions, entertainment, advice, and judgment compete endlessly for attention. In this noise, identity fragments. A man begins to confuse what he hears with who he is. Silence removes that confusion. Silence is not empty, it is revealing. In silence, thoughts slow, emotions surface, patterns appear. A man notices what he avoids and what he... Silence forces confrontation with unresolved questions, and though uncomfortable, this confrontation brings clarity. Identity cannot be discovered through constant stimulation. Walking alone naturally creates silence. Without constant conversation, a man becomes attentive to his inner state. He learns the difference between instinct and impulse, between desire and habit. Identity stops being reactive and begins to be intentional. Loneliness is often mistaken for emptiness. In reality, it is unfamiliar self-presence. When external validation fades, a man feels exposed, not empty. This exposure feels heavy because most lives are lived in distraction. Walking alone magnifies this presence until it becomes grounding. With time, loneliness transforms. A man learns that he can be with himself without fear or judgment. He no longer seeks others to escape himself. He seeks them to share. From this place, relationships grow deeper and lighter at the same time. Conformity moves fast. Trends spread quickly. Reactions replace reflection. Awareness moves differently. It slows down, asking why before acting. Walking alone allows this pace. A man observes before committing, understanding consequences before chasing outcomes. Wisdom develops through patience. Awareness notices details the crowd overlooks. It values direction over speed. Walking alone is not about moving slowly, it is about moving deliberately. In time, awareness outlasts conformity. Freedom is often romanticized, but its first demand is courage. The courage to choose without assurance, to stand without agreement, and to act without approval. Walking alone is the beginning of this courage. It replaces certainty with responsibility. At first, freedom feels heavy. Peace does not arrive immediately, but over time, courage becomes confidence. Peace follows not from ease, but from alignment. A man becomes calm not because life is simple, but because he is honest. Eventually, the man who walks alone learns something unexpected. Solitude does not separate him from humanity, it prepares him for it. Knowing himself, he no longer seeks others to complete him. He meets them whole. True connection requires this wholeness, without desperation, without masks, without fear of loss. Walking alone teaches empathy, patience, and presence. It removes neediness from connection and replaces it with respect. And so the man who walks alone is not rejecting the world. He is learning how to meet it without losing himself. He is not escaping people. He is preparing to stand among them with clarity, courage, and truth.